we wanted to take a minute to just let Mr. Ware speak. He has not talked to the media or said anything as of yet, ever since the tragedy happened with his son, because he's been in mourning. But we had to come forward at this point to address a number of things that have been inaccurate, that have been put out there about what happened and what Mr. Ware knows or didn't know, and correct some of the things that are incorrect about him as a person. Mr. Ware was not there when his son was tragically run over and killed. Mr. Ware was still in Atlanta, Georgia, where his family has resided, and he was not in Texas. Many of the stories that we saw have stated that Mr. Ware and his wife were there when his son was killed. He didn't know what happened until he got a phone call. Mr. Ware was not negligent in any way. He wasn't even there when his son was killed. The GoFundMe account that a lot of people have talked about, Mr. Ware didn't create the GoFundMe account. That was created by UGA football alum out of friendship and compassion, because that's how tight of a team they were, and they knew how badly his heart was broken. And just like when tragedy strikes, the GoFundMe accounts are to help with funerals. They aren't for legal expenses whatsoever. So that's inaccurate. The portrayal that because Mr. Ware has 2 Super Bowl rings, he's a multimillionaire person living this kind of lifestyle, it's wholly inaccurate. Mr. Ware played football, and yes, he does have 2 Super Bowl rings, but that was years ago. What people don't know is he went back to school and got his degree, and he works a 9 to 5 just like everybody. He isn't a multimillionaire current football player, as I've even seen. He's a 9 to 5 husband and father. And I think that it's important to hear from Mr. Ware himself, so that he can express to you why he posted that Facebook message that went viral and drew so much attention to this situation, and tell you a little bit about what he's going through.
Thank you all for being here today, allowing me to speak. I don't really have a lot to say except for that I love my sons. I've loved my sons ever since the day they were born. The only time I really couldn't be with them is when I was playing ball and traveling, and but they still found time to be up there with me and come to games and me be in their lives. I lived with my wife up until a few days before she left and went to Texas. I was actually at work the day that I got the call. I went in at, I talked to my sons at 10 o'clock, and it was the first time I had talked to them in a few days, through multiple efforts of trying to, speak with them. And I got to tell them I loved them and I missed them, and I would see them soon. And a few hours after I got off work, I kind of went home and laid down from just being tired, and I woke up to a phone call with the worst news a parent should ever have to hear. Your 3-year-old baby has been killed. I didn't know if it was a dream, a nightmare, or if I just heard it wrong, and it turns out that it was totally accurate. I was not there, so I didn't get to experience it. I don't know what happened. I still have a lot of questions. I'm here as a heartbroken father, trying to get answers as to what happened to my son. Why was he in the road? Why did he get run over? Like, why was nobody there that could told him move, get out the way, or grab him, or anything like that? My heart can't take much more of this. It's turned into something that I really never expected. All I want is for my son, Danny Josiah's body, to be brought back to Georgia, to be buried where all his family is. Everybody that knows him, everybody that loves him, everybody that has come into contact with his life has a special part of him in them, and they want to be able to celebrate his life without having to go to Texas to bury him where he knows no one. He may have only known the people that he was around for 2 or 3 days. And when you look at the big scheme of things, he was involved with so many people here in the state of Georgia, and so many people love and care for him, that this is the right place for him to be. I am also looking to get my oldest son, Amari Caleb Ware, back here. He is the most important thing to me right now, because I have a fear that he may be mentally scarred from this for a long time, and to be able to get him the help that he needs, that I'm gonna need, that the family will need, I think he needs to be around a strong network of people like the University of Georgia that has vowed already to help us out with counseling and anything that we need. This is something that no family should ever have to go through, but it's now the present. The time is now for us to act and to get our kids back here to the state of Georgia where they belong, and allow them to grow up as normal. Allow Amari to grow up as normal now as he can possibly be. I think everybody that has been supporting us through this time, we've had so many prayers and condolences sent our way, and we're gonna need it, because we're still going through a very tough time, and the only way to get through it is family, friends, and the support of others, and prayers. I just want my kid back here where he belongs.
How old is your older son?
5. Yes.
You know, one of the important things, and it really hit home yesterday. I was, of course, as we all do, looking at the articles that y'all have posted or other media, and reading some of the comments, and one of the discussions going back and forth was, well, he's a Super Bowl champion and made millions and this and that, and which all of that is fully accurate. But I was just looking at the discussion going on, and I see it all the time with so many cases like this. And people forget that even though they're entertainers or athlete, that they go through the same tragedies just like all of us. It's not about the NFL right now or UGA or anything like that. A father had his 3-year-old son killed, and he has no answers, no idea what happened, and doesn't even have the body back here with his grandparents, uncles, aunts, the parents of the mother. When I sat back and I thought about it, and as I'm trying to talk to DJ about the case and, you know, what we're gonna have to do civilly, and when you talk to him, all he does is look at his phone, which is a screensaver of him and his boys. And that's where it hit me that we don't realize sometimes that there are people behind whatever it is that they've done in the past or whatever recognition they have. And that's what we really wanted to get out there, and go against any comments or any remarks, because anything that his wife may bring about in the future, or if this does get contentious about where where the burial will happen, we wanted people to see that he is a father and a husband and experience the pain that he's going through. We'll take a few questions and wrap it up.
We're all very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Very sorry indeed.
Thank you.
Is there a restraining order that you're fighting that keeps what you want to happen from happening?
I believe so. I had to kind of learn that through media. I was in a frantic desperation to try to find out what happened to my son, and I found the body, and you know, I as a father, I found out that, you know, I'm not even on the next of kin list. So I added myself on there, and I wanted my son brought back here, so I agreed to have his body released to come back here. And we can't come to an understanding on where he should be buried. So now I believe there's a restraining order until we get this thing resolved. And I think the restraining order lasts for 14 days, but I really don't know. I'm still trying to gather information.
So legally, what is the next step? Because things have to move pretty quickly here if we're talking about, you know, burial and that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're moving in conjunction. We're also working with a family attorney who's handling the domestic part of this situation. And they're trying to push it as fast as possible so that this can be resolved. On the civil part, we'll be speaking to the police out in Texas again later this week. They've told us already that the police report should be finalized, because at this point we don't even know who was driving. It's been reported that it was a family friend. Mr. Ware has no family out there. It was reported that it was a neighbor. Mr. Ware doesn't live out there. His wife was just out there not even a week. We don't know who was driving that car, other than that they've reported his wife was in a discussion with the driver right before he ran over his son. That's the only thing we know, is that his wife was talking to the driver right before he ran over the son.
Was anyone charged?
No, from what we've learned so far is that charges aren't likely, but they're still investigating. We know it's always open case until they put out the official reports.
And she's not offering or can't provide any more details about exactly what happened?
She hasn't given more details other than an overview of what occurred.
From your discussions with your wife, what are you getting as the reason for him to be buried in Texas? He has no family out there.
She, from my understanding, is she plans to live out there. She plans on moving out there and being out there for good. But even still, you know, there's no family out there. There's her brother, you know, and like I say, my boys didn't even know them. Like, they didn't come to the hospital when they were born. They haven't been over here to visit them. You know, it's still not, to me, the best situation for them. But that's her response, is she plans to live there, and she wants to be able to take the boys and her daughter over to see the grave whenever she would like.
And they were born and raised in Atlanta?
Yes, ma'am. Born and raised.
Both of them.
Northside Hospital.
How hopeful are you that this can come to a resolution that, in your favor?
I'm just praying and having faith that a court will understand my argument. They will see that this is the best place for the both of them. For Danny Josiah, you know, he was going to daycare. He was around many cousins and friends that, you know, loved him and want to support, you know, his homecoming. And I think having it out in Texas would make it very difficult for so many people that wants to be a part of this homecoming celebration to even be involved. And I think that would hurt him if he had a decision. I think, you know, he would want to be here.
He was 3 years old. Tell us about him.
He was the most intelligent, active, strong, full of life young man a father could ever want. You know, I would come home from work and first thing he would say is, "Jump me, Daddy. Jump me, Daddy. Pick me up, Daddy. Let me get on your back," you know, and we'd walk around the house, I'd jump him, and, you know, he was always wanting to help cook. He was always wanting to, you know, do things for others at a young age. He loved cars. He loved the Incredible Hulk. That was his thing. He would, you know, I even have a video on my phone of him smashing the ground, saying Hulk smash, and just doing all the things that he would see the Incredible Hulk do. He was awesome. He knew how to love you. He knew how to hug you. He knew how to tell you he loved you. and he was such a talker. Like he was involved with everybody that loved him. He was involved with them as well. It was,
Not asking you to reveal anything too personal, but can you provide any insight into why your wife left, why she went to Texas?
No, I mean, you know, that'll be something you have to address with her or follow
Well, she
with her.
was within her rights to take.
I mean, that's still up for question. You know, my understanding is you actually have to follow through with the divorce or talk to a court before relocating somebody's children without the father's permission to an entirely different state that they aren't residents of. But once again, that whole situation will be worked out with the court.
But she didn't go out there pursuant to some court order or something like that, right?
No, they're not even divorced yet.
Okay.
Were you under the impression that this was just a visit, or that this was going to be for a while when she left?
I really, you know, I really never thought she would go. She had threatened me with leaving, but I was like, please, you know, don't take my kids out there. They have nothing out there. There's no reason for them to be there. They need a father in their life, and even if, you know, we don't work out, there's still a civil manner in which we can co-parent and be involved with our children's life together. It's impossible for me to be a major factor in raising my kids if I have to jump on the flight every time I want to go see them. If I want to pick them up from school or take them to the movies or out to get ice cream, I'm not allowed to do that now if I have to jump on a plane or drive 12, 13 hours away. And, you know, there's so many guys that have nothing to do with their children for a man that wants to be an integral part of their children's life to have to face potentially driving and flying just to go see them it's just a hard situation, and I just never thought it would come to this.
Exactly how many days was she out there with your kids?
I want to say she was there for 3 days before the accident happened.
Obviously, this is a very difficult situation for anyone to go through, but how has this dispute sort of made this, has it magnified it? Has it made it worse for you that you have to go through sort of two trying times at once?
It's made it very difficult because I want to mourn. I want to celebrate my son. I want to hug Amari and tell him everything's gonna be okay. You know, I want to show him that I love him and continue to be there for him because everybody is hurting in this situation right now, and you know, it's almost as bad as the death itself that we're having to go through, you know, legal battles and can't really come to an understanding. I don't think words can even explain how crazy it feels right now. It still feels like a nightmare. And you know, just the facts that I still don't have information on what happened, and we're going through this, and it's just tough. There's moments I want to break down and, you know, cry and be angry at everybody, but you know, the support has been so strong and outgoing that it kind of helps me out a little bit, because I don't know how much more of this I can take, and I fear for my son. I just don't know how much he can take, but you know, and I just want to do what's right, and to me that is bringing Danny Josiah back to Georgia, burying him so his family and friends can celebrate him, and also getting Amari back over here as well, so he can continue to excel in kindergarten and, you know, make the lifetime friends that, you know, a kid should make, staying in the same school system and not jumping around, having to start over. That would be the ultimate victory. No matter what else happens, that would be the best thing that could come out of this situation.
What was the legal basis for the injunction, and is that in question now?
No, it's still being decided upon right now. But like I said, you know, those questions, we can direct you to the family attorney that filed the injunction and got that stuff going. But all of that stuff rapidly, because it is a temporary basis, that's going to be figured out pretty quickly. And I think that they understand that there's a body that needs to be decided on. So it's going to, you know, we'll have answers probably next week.
Criminally against the driver, or are y'all, at this point, y'all are just trying to figure out what happened and
Yeah,
who it was?
what happened? How do you not see a child riding on a bicycle, especially as one of the reports said, if you're going at a slow speed? As I've told DJ, you know, don't focus on all that. That's what we focus on. Somebody's going to pay for this. I mean, you killed somebody's child. How did that happen? If it's not criminal charges, that does not relieve civil liability. Somebody is going to have to be held responsible for what happened. You don't just run over a child when A, there's adults out there, and B, you have to look where you're going. If the car had been sitting there, as one of the reports said, you knew children were riding around at some point. But we need answers. We don't even know exactly how it occurred or who was driving, but we should find that out by the end of the week.